Major Sophia Reynolds stands in the jet bridge, her polished black boots clicking lightly against the floor plates as she waits for the cabin door to close. Her dress uniform is impeccable. Navy blue jacket neatly pressed, golden rank insignia gleaming under the overhead lights. What happened next shocked everyone on board and changed her life forever before the wheels even left the ground. Before we start the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. Her chest is quiet with resolve because she has done everything right. Heading home after a year overseas, her heart feels like it might finally slow down. The last thing she expects is confrontation. She's one of the few passengers boarding last before takeoff. Her first-class ticket is clasped between her fingers like a lifeline. Her father, Admiral James Reynolds, arranged it weeks ago. She's been looking forward to sinking into that wide leather seat, closing her eyes, and forgetting the world for a while. Instead, she's about to learn how quickly respect can be stripped away. Sophia steps into the cabin, taking in the plush tan tones and quiet hum of engines. The air smells faintly of leather conditioner and strong coffee in those small cups they serve up front. She spots seat 3A by the window, exactly where her father wanted her. Her mind drifts homeward, her mother in her apron, humming while baking cornbread. She can almost taste that warm loaf. She imagines her dog wagging its tail against her legs, the screen door creaking as she enters. That image is her reward for every long night in uniform. She steadies herself and moves forward, folding her backpack neatly before tucking it beneath the seat. Everything feels perfect until the smile fades. That's when Victoria Harrington appears. She's the lead flight attendant, tall with copper hair pulled into a tight bun. Her posture is rigid, clutching a clipboard that seems more weapon than tool. Victoria's eyes flick from Sophia's dog tags to her badge and back, narrowing as if spotting an error. Sophia offers a polite nod, believing courtesy will ease any tension. Victoria waits a beat before speaking. "May I see your boarding pass?" she asks, tone cordial but brittle underneath. Sophia nods and slides the ticket across the armrest. Every first-class passenger seems to glance up, phones hovering like tiny spotlights. Victoria studies the pass and then Sophia's uniform. The corners of her mouth twitch mechanically. She glances between the boarding pass and Sophia, then says, "This is a first-class seat." Sophia's voice trembles slightly when she replies, "Yes, ma'am, that's where I sit." Victoria checks the numbers again, sets the clipboard on her forearm and lowers her voice. "There must be a mix-up. You'll need to move to the back of the plane." Sophia's eyebrows lift in surprise. "My father purchased this ticket for me. It's valid," she says calmly. Victoria shakes her head, her tone sharpening. "I understand that, but this isn't standard. I need you to come with me." The moment feels surreal. Victoria reaches out, placing her hand on Sophia's arm and pushing gently, just hard enough to remind her who holds power in this space. Sophia freezes for a heartbeat, her uniform jacket stiff against her chest. A hush falls over first class, so complete that Sophia can hear her own breath. Dozens of eyes watch her, some curious, many silent. No one moves. No one speaks in her defense. Instead, she allows herself a small nod and stands. Her shoulders remain squared, but the weight of other passengers' stares feels like 1,000 lead bricks. She gathers her jacket, drapes her backpack over her shoulder, and begins walking down the aisle toward the rear. Walking past those marble-like bulkheads, Sophia feels humiliation tighten her lungs. Each step toward economy feels like walking backward through time, erasing every bit of service and sacrifice that earned her those insignia. Passengers whisper behind their hands, but no one meets her gaze. She tries not to look down at the cheap blue seats awaiting her. When she reaches economy, she picks the emptiest row she can find. Seat 21C, wedged between two people glued to their tablets. She lowers herself into the cramped space and straightens, back ramrod straight despite the cushion feeling like plywood. The tray table squeaks under her elbow, stiffness already setting into her shoulders. She reaches into her backpack for her phone. Her fingers hover over the screen before she types a message to her father. They told me I don't belong in first class. They made me move to economy. They touched my arm. I'm okay, but I'm upset. She hits send and turns the phone face down on her lap, so the bright screen won't betray her worry. She stares ahead at the seat back, letting engine drone fill her ears. The pain isn't in the downgrade itself, but in the instant erasure of her dignity that happened before so many witnesses. As if her uniform meant nothing. Her phone vibrates. A reply appears immediately. "What's your flight number?" Her father's words are curt. He's a man who knows the inner workings of systems, military, federal, and airline alike. When he asks that question, Sophia understands something is about to unfold. She types back, "Flight 227." Then presses send and turns her attention to the tiny window beside her. Outside, the sky is a pale ribbon of blue fading into clouds. The landing gear has retracted, and at 350 feet, she feels the gentle lift of the wings. She breathes in, letting cool cabin air steady her. Up in first class, Victoria Harrington has returned to her duties as if nothing happened. She pours champagne into fluted glasses, smiles at premium passengers, and offers perfectly folded pillows. A younger attendant named Olivia Wilson hovers close, her eyes flicking toward the back of the plane. Eventually, Olivia crosses the cabin, raising her whisper just loud enough for Victoria to hear. "Are you sure her ticket was wrong?" she asks hesitantly. Victoria rolls her eyes. "I saw someone once using a uniform to get an upgrade," she shrugs. "First class is for those who pay for it. Not anyone in a costume." Olivia looks uneasy but doesn't press further. She drifts away, leaving Victoria to her polished routine. Meanwhile, Sophia feels a knot tighten in her stomach. She knows better than to lose her temper. Instead, she rests her head against the window panel and closes her eyes. The seats near the galley are louder, full of passengers talking and clanking cups. She imagines her father pacing his office in Washington. He's Admiral James Reynolds, overseeing operations at the highest levels. When he gets involved, it means this is no small matter. She tucks a strand of hair behind her ear and waits. She trusts him to handle it, even as her heart pounds with every jolt of turbulence. Near the cockpit, the captain's cabin phone buzzes. Captain Thomas Bennett picks it up, glancing at the illuminated sign beneath the control panel. A crisp, authoritative voice comes through. "This is Admiral James Reynolds," her father says. "I'm calling about a passenger on Flight 227. My daughter, Major Sophia Reynolds, was removed from her first-class seat unfairly." Captain Bennett freezes, fingers hovering over the intercom button. He straightens in his seat. "Yes, sir," he replies. "I wasn't aware of any—" The Admiral's voice cuts him off. "She was humiliated in front of other passengers, physically touched, and downgraded without cause. I've already contacted the Department of Aviation Security." The line goes dead before the captain can respond. The cockpit is silent except for the hum of avionics. Captain Bennett looks at his co-pilot, then reaches for the cabin intercom switch. Victoria is halfway through greeting a passenger when the captain's voice comes over the speaker. "Lead flight attendant, report to the cockpit immediately." Victoria freezes with a glass of orange juice in hand, confusion flickering across her face. She sets it down and walks briskly toward the cockpit door. Sophia hears the seatbelt sign chime in economy, an odd echo of the power shift occurring in first class. In the cockpit, Victoria slides in and attempts her rehearsed smile. "You called for me, Captain?" she asks, voice pitched higher than usual. Captain Bennett doesn't smile back. He fixes her with a steady gaze. "Do you recall seat 3A?" he asks. She nods, swallowing, shoulders stiff. "The passenger you moved," he continues. "Did you verify her ticket and identity?" Victoria glances at her clipboard, then back at him. "I checked the pass," she responds slowly. "It matched." The captain's eyes narrow. "Yet you still moved her. Why?" Victoria's voice wavers. "I thought it was an error. I believed someone might be using her uniform." Captain Bennett leans forward. "That passenger is Major Sophia Reynolds, daughter of Admiral James Reynolds, who oversees defense operations at the national level. The Department of Aviation Security has escalated this issue. Victoria's face pales. The captain's voice remains calm but firm. You will go back to first class, apologize in front of the entire cabin, and escort her back to seat 3A. If her rights were violated, this flight may not continue to its destination. Victoria stands frozen, heart racing. When she turns to leave the cockpit, her steps are halting as if the carpet might swallow her. Minutes later, Sophia hears gentle taps approaching. She looks up to see Victoria return to the aisle, face pale and eyes downcast. The lead attendant clears her throat and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to apologize for my earlier actions." Her voice quavers as she steps into Sophia's row. "Major Reynolds, I'm sorry for how I treated you. Please come back to your seat." Victoria gestures toward first class, shoulders slumped. The cabin falls silent, and for the first time, those passengers who watched in silence now look at Sophia with something like respect. Sophia rises, her uniform impeccable despite everything. She nods to Victoria and walks back toward the front. Each step reclaims her dignity. She feels murmurs and even some applause as she passes. When she reaches 3A, she turns to face the cabin. She sees faces softened by guilt and curiosity. She offers a small, calm smile and settles back into the wide leather seat that always felt like home, even in the air. As Victoria hands her a fresh glass of water, Sophia looks out at the endless horizon. She lifts the glass in a silent toast to every soldier who has ever faced unfair judgment. As the engines continue their steady roar, Sophia thinks of her father's disciplined calm and knows the rest of this flight will go smoothly. She'll land at her hometown airport in a few hours, step into her mother's arms, and finally breathe freely. But the memory of those first minutes will remain a reminder that even the smallest act of prejudice can be powerful. And when you stand tall in the face of it, your strength becomes the real story. The cabin felt charged in a way Major Sophia Reynolds had never experienced, even in combat. The engine hum and passenger chatter receded, replaced by electric tension. Every eye in first class seemed fixed on her seat, though no one met her gaze. The leather seats that once felt like sanctuary now pressed in on her, her once proud uniform suddenly heavy with each reminder of the insult endured. Victoria Harrington moved down the center aisle with condemned stiffness. She paused at seat 21C, crouching to whisper, but every head turned to listen. "Major Reynolds," she began, "it appears there's been a misunderstanding." Her eyes darted to rows behind Sophia where Olivia Wilson and two other attendants hovered silently, expressions mixing guilt and relief that the spotlight had shifted. Sophia lifted her chin, meeting Victoria's gaze with quiet fury burning brighter than any artillery flare. "A misunderstanding," she echoed, voice calm but resonant enough that several passengers straightened. "You told me I didn't belong in first class, and you touched my arm." The words landed like stones in still water, rippling through rows of stunned faces. An elderly woman in 2B set down her champagne, seemingly about to speak before catching herself and folding her hands tightly. Victoria's throat worked as if trying to swallow the truth whole. "I'm sorry for how I handled things," she said deliberately. "I misread the manifest and—" She broke off, glancing at her clipboard as though hoping it might absolve her. A gentleman in a tweed jacket leaned forward, barely above a murmur. "I saw what happened. It appalled me." Sophia glanced up, tilting her head slightly, fixing him with a direct look. "Did you say anything when it happened?" she asked, soft but insistent. He shook his head, shame coloring his features. "I didn't think it was my place," he admitted. Sophia's lips curved in a knowing smile. "It always is," she replied. Her phone vibrated, cutting through the charged silence. She read the message. "Dad, good. I'm back. Security is waiting at the gate." Outside, the sky stretched in soft layers of gray and white, unremarkable but expansive, a contrast to the claustrophobic hush inside. Captain Bennett's voice came over the intercom, measured and professional, announcing their initial approach and adding neutrally, We appreciate your cooperation during what has been an unusual situation. Beyond the cabin walls, Olivia's earlier glance toward the cockpit hadn't gone unnoticed. The captain and co-pilot watched descending flaps and consulted approach plates, eyes betraying satisfaction. They understood this flight would be remembered not for on-time arrival, but for integrity upheld under pressure. In the galley, Victoria finally placed her clipboard down and wiped her palms on her skirt. Her once immaculate uniform now felt like a straitjacket. Colleagues avoided her eyes but offered curtain nods. Olivia stepped forward last, hand hovering over Victoria's elbow. "You did apologize," she said softly. Victoria turned, eyes wide. "Is that enough?" she asked, voice trembling. Olivia's gaze was steady. "Sometimes it's where you begin," she replied before tending to the flight deck door. The plane touched down with a gentle thump. Cabin lights brightened as ground crew signaled readiness. Passengers gathered belongings, bracing for what might come next. Major Sophia Reynolds remained seated, breathing evenly, face serene. As the jet slowed, the boarding door hissed open. Two uniformed airline security officers stepped in. Stern, professional, unyielding. They made their way down the aisle as the cabin fell into expectant hush once more. Behind them walked Admiral James Reynolds, Sophia's father. His dress uniform impeccable, medals polished, expression composed but resolute. His presence filled the aisle like the opening curtain of a serious drama. Passengers rose to their feet as the officers reached Sophia's row.